Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist. He was also a prisoner. In the 1940s, he spent years in Nazi concentration camps, including Auschwitz, and he watched people around him respond to unimaginable suffering in completely different ways. Some people collapsed mentally. Some people held on. Some people even found meaning in the midst of horror. And when he was finally liberated, instead of writing a revenge story or a survival story, he wrote something that would change how psychology understands meaning: man's search for meaning. This book isn't really about the Holocaust, even though that's what it begins with. It's about something deeper. It's about why humans need meaning, how to find it, and what happens when you do. Frankl's central argument is simple but profound. The primary motivation in human life isn't pleasure, like Freud said. It's not just survival or power or security. It's meaning. Humans can endure almost anything if they have a reason to endure it. A purpose, a sense that their suffering or their struggle or even their ordinary day has meaning. The book is built on this idea, and everything flows from it. Let's start with what Frankl learned in the camps. He was there. He saw people die around him. He saw people lose their minds. He saw people give up. And he noticed something. The people who survived weren't always the physically strongest. They were the ones who had a reason to keep going. A person waiting for a child to return from another camp. A person with an unfinished manuscript. A person who believed they had a contribution to make to the world. The physical conditions were identical, but the meaning made the difference. This is where Frankl introduces what he calls the last of human freedoms. In the camps, they took away everything. Your freedom to choose your job, your freedom to move, your freedom to have privacy or dignity or safety. They took away so much. But they couldn't take away your freedom to choose your attitude. They couldn't take away your ability to find meaning in whatever situation you found yourself in. That freedom was the last one to go. And Frankl argues that this freedom exists for all of us, not just in extreme situations. Even when you're trapped by circumstances, you're not trapped in how you respond. The second major idea in the book is about the types of meaning Frankl identifies. He breaks it down into 3 categories. The first is creating work, accomplishing something, contributing something to the world. A musician creating music, an engineer building something, a parent raising children, an entrepreneur starting a company. This is the obvious meaning. You do something, and that doing gives you purpose. The second source of meaning is experience. Love, beauty, nature, connection with other people. Experiencing something deeply and fully. The third source is attitude. And this is the one that surprised me the most. Frankl argues that even when you can't change your situation, you can always choose your attitude toward it. You can't control that you're sick, but you can control what sickness means. You can't control that you're poor, but you can control how you respond to poverty. You can't control loss, but you can control what the loss teaches you. Frankl then introduces the concept of tragic triad. These are the unchangeable things in human life: pain, guilt, and death. These are the things you can't escape. You'll experience pain. You'll probably feel guilt for something. You will definitely die. Most of us spend our energy trying to deny this tragic triad, trying to escape it, or pretending it doesn't exist. Frankl's argument is that the meaning in your life isn't found by avoiding the tragic triad. It's found by how you respond to it, how you carry your pain, how you make amends for your guilt, how you live knowing that your life is finite. One of the most powerful parts of the book is when Frankl talks about the will to meaning versus the will to pleasure and the will to power. Modern society is obsessed with the will to pleasure. More comfort, more entertainment, more things that feel good. There's also the will to power, which is what drives a lot of ambition and competition. But Frankl argues that underneath both of these is a deeper human need, the will to meaning. When people are struggling, when they're depressed, when they feel empty, it's often not because they lack pleasure or power. It's because they lack meaning. They don't see the point. Frankl then introduces a technique he developed called logotherapy, which literally means therapy through meaning. The basic idea is simple. If a person can find meaning in their life, they can handle almost anything. Depression, anxiety, suffering, even contemplating suicide. If you have a reason to live, you can endure. Logotherapy isn't about giving people false hope or empty platitudes. It's about helping them discover the meaning that's actually there. The question isn't about finding some grand cosmic meaning. It's about finding what your unique contribution could be. What would be lost if you weren't here? What are you responsible for? Frankl makes a critical point. You can't pursue meaning directly. You can't say, I'm going to sit down and find the meaning of my life. That's backwards. Meaning is discovered in the act of living. It's found when you're focused on something beyond yourself. You're creating, or you're connecting, or you're responding to your circumstances in a particular way. You're not focused on yourself. And paradoxically, that focus on something beyond yourself is what creates meaning. He also talks about what he calls the existential vacuum. This is the experience of meaninglessness, the feeling that life is empty, pointless, that nothing really matters. He argues that this is becoming more common in modern society, not less common. We have more comfort, more freedom, more options than ever before. And yet more people feel empty. Why? Because comfort and freedom alone don't create meaning. You need purpose. You need a reason to do what you're doing. There's a section in the book where Frankl discusses the responsibility that comes with meaning. When you find your meaning, you're also accepting responsibility. You're responsible for making that meaning real. You're responsible for living according to it. You can't just discover meaning and then ignore it. You have to live it. And that responsibility is heavy. But it's also what makes life worth living. Frankl also spends time on the idea that you'll change. Your future self is going to be different from who you are now. Your goals will change. Your sense of meaning will evolve. Your circumstances will change. But most people build lives when they're young and think it'll work forever. Then they hit a moment when everything changes and what used to matter suddenly doesn't. The psychology here is about flexibility, building a life with room to adapt as you become a different person. Frankl ends the book with a fundamental insight. He says that humans don't need to avoid suffering. They need to avoid meaningless suffering. And if you have to choose between suffering with meaning and comfort without meaning, most humans will choose suffering with meaning. We want our lives to matter. We want the things we do, the things we endure, the choices we make to add up to something. And that one is what makes us human. So what does this mean for you, right now, in your life? Frankl's argument is that meaning isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create through how you live. What are you building? What are you experiencing? What is your attitude toward the unchangeable parts of your life? What would be lost if you weren't here? These aren't easy questions, but asking them is the first step to discovering meaning. Here's your challenge from this book, and I want you to take it seriously. Write down 3 ways that your life has meaning right now. Not someday, not when things get better. Right now, it could be someone you're responsible for, something you're creating, a way you're responding to difficulty, a contribution you're making. Don't overthink it. Just identify 3 sources of meaning in your life as it currently is. Then write down 1 thing you could do to deepen one of those meanings. Make it real this week. That's it. Drop a comment with one of your meanings. I want to hear what gives your life purpose. That's man's search for meaning in a nutshell. If you want the biggest lessons broken down individually, the best quote from the book, the single biggest obstacle to meaning that Frankl warns about, and 1 action step you can start today, check out the 5 short videos linked right after this one. And if this kind of daily breakdown is useful to you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you catch tomorrow's book the moment it goes up. See you then.